What about you, Nick?
I don't care about the Friday the 13th franchise, to be fairly honest. I think
Moving on.
what
Canceled.
happened when
Let's talk about one of the granddaddies of horror. The granddaddies of modern horror, I suppose. But we hadn't seen him for a while, and that would be Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees has been caught up. Friday the 13th has been caught up in, as some know, a legal battle for years. It's one of the reasons the very popular Friday the 13th game that came out a few years ago got kind of like cut off at the knees because they couldn't add anything else to it. It was a multiplayer game. And because of this legal battle, nothing could be done with Friday the 13th. Legal battle was Sean Cunningham and the screenwriter, the original director Sean Cunningham, and the screenwriter Victor Miller had it tied up for years. I don't mean that in a negative way because the rights were supposed to go back to them, but it was, I think, New Line had it or something like that, and it's like they were fighting about who owned Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees because apparently that's two separate things. Well, that's all taken care of now. New Line's Instagram account is suggesting that Jason Voorhees has learned how to use a cell phone and or computer and is trying to send the studio a message.
Oh no.
I don't have a picture of it here, but it's just somebody's notification that says Jason Voorhees is trying to send you a message or something like that. And they tweeted that or put it out on Instagram. As I said, a messy lawsuit between original director Sean Cunningham and screenwriter Victor Miller tied up the rights for years. Last year, it seems the lawsuit has been settled. They settled it out of court. Nobody knows how, who, what, where, when, how much, but it has been settled. Producer Roy Lee teased in an interview with Bloody Disgusting that we might be getting news on the front soon, while Cunningham posted in his Cameo bio that the 13th installment in the franchise was coming our way in 2023. I guess the question is that I have, since it's freed up and apparently they are moving forward with something Friday the 13th related, what do you guys think? Are we getting a reboot, a sequel to the 2009 reboot, or a legacy sequel where they kind of do like a Halloween 2018 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre where they kind of like forget about some of the other sequels and come back and say here's the true sequel or sequel to something or whatever. What do you guys think we're getting here, and are you excited to see Jason Voorhees once again on the screen?
The one thing that's unique about Friday the 13th is everybody gets killed. You know, the only thing that's consistent is Jason by and large. And I'm trying to think like the later sequels even they kind of everybody pretty much dies, and the ones that survive really aren't heard from again, at least from the ones I've seen, and it's been a hot minute since I saw the later sequels. He goes into future, he goes into the outer space, he goes to Manhattan. I'm hoping that I don't want to see it rebooted. I hope that they whatever the best case scenario is for that character, that they don't just, I hope they go that route as compared to just following what Halloween and everybody else did. And I don't really know what that would be. I do know with the lawsuit, they can't, I think it only covers the original, so it would be like they can't mention his mother, they can't do Camp Crystal Lake maybe? Like there are certain things that they can't...
was the problem, was Cunningham and Miller were saying we own Friday the 13th,
original.
we own everything that happened in that first film. Everything after that, Jason Voorhees, the name, I think they own that, but the character with the hockey mask was not of their creation. So it was just tied up as to who owns what, how, when, where. My understanding is it's all open season now, but it has to go through them because they own the rights again. So Cunningham and Miller had to say, yeah, sure, you can do that. Or you can use that. So it may all be open. I don't know, but we're getting something.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a cool series. I hope that whatever they choose to do, I hope it's the best for that character and not just a rehash because, every other horror movie is going in that direction. Sure. And that doesn't really answer it, but honestly, they've gone so many different directions with Jason. I think that it is kind of wide open as to what they could do, I don't think as long as they freeze him again and send him into the future and he comes back as a buff asshole, I think they're probably okay.
Hey, I like Jason X. By the way,
I love that one too.
He killed David Cronenberg.
He did. Shameless promotion. I have reviewed every single Friday the 13th or Friday the 13th related film on my channel. So go check out my Friday the 13th series.
Watch his Jason vs. Manhattan. Jason Goes to Manhattan.
Jason, oh my god, that was bad. But Jason, the later Jason films, they get way out there and kind of like,
But
what
they're
the fuck is
fun.
going
They're
on?
such fun.
But
like,
they are. They kind of let it go. They did like Freddy. They let it go and just went into it. They understood that they were, before memes, they were meme worthy at that point, and they really played into it. I enjoyed the later Friday the 13th movies, the Freddy versus Jason, the Jason X, the Manhattan. I didn't like that. But the Jason Goes to Hell. I hated that movie when it first came out. I saw that in theaters when it first came out, and I fucking hated it. But when I rewatched it a year or so ago, I really enjoyed it. That movie, Jason's hardly in it, really.
is it the one where it's like the worm? It's kind of like the virus that goes from person
Yes.
to person?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jason himself,
I like
the
that one.
personification of Jason is hardly in the movie, but I really enjoyed the movie. It was a good time. But what about you, Nick?
I don't care about the Friday the 13th franchise, to be fairly honest. I think
Moving on.
what
Canceled.
happened the whole lawsuit thing, just I was over it. Shane Cunningham's kind of a dick anyway, so or Sean, whatever his name is. I have a friend who's a huge Friday the 13th fan, so I kind of never. I always like poked fun at him and stuff like that, but I've never been. I'm more Michael Myers. Friday the 13th it just never did anything for me, to be fairly honest. So if they make a new one, cool, I'll maybe watch it, but I'm sorry, I can't muster up any kind of interest in this property at all. So cool.
I'm with you.
I'm sure. I hope fans enjoy it, but I'm not real excited for it.
I'm with you there, but might I suggest, because that's kind of where I was, because Friday the 13th has just become kind of to me. But when I rewatched all of them, now it had its low points, that's for damn sure. There were some things in it. I really enjoyed a lot of those movies, going back and watching them back to back to back like I did a year or so ago. I did enjoy that. The later ones too, if you go into it knowing what you're getting, I had a really good time with the later ones. The first ones, the first 3 or 4 have their place. And then there's 5 and 6 are kind of, I think 5 was the one I really liked that one too, but then 6 was the one with the telepathic girl. That one sucked. But then they kind of said fuck it and went their own route, and I really enjoyed it after that. I would suggest trying them out again.
No, I get that. I have watched them many times. I found the idea that a lot of it takes place in Camp Crystal Lake, and it just seems like the same shit over and over and over. And I don't know. It just I'm very weird about horror films in general. Like I said, Halloween and Trick or Treat and all that stuff. But I can't. Maybe one day we can watch it. Watch one of the Friday 13th, and maybe you'll change my mind.
You must watch Jason X.
I have watched Jason X, especially when he kills David Cronenberg.
Put the girl in the sleeping bag and beating him to death on the tree, and all the fucks they do not give in that movie just make it so great.
Oh yeah,
just so great.
The nipple part.
The one where,
yeah.
That's the one where that's the one where he picks up the bag and just punches her against the tree.
Yeah, well, that's a callback to one of the earlier films he does it, but in this one he goes ham. He's just whamming it on this VR tree or whatever, or holodeck tree, and the movie is so ridiculous, but I love it because it gives no fucks. It's like they made this movie and they're like, all right, we know what we're making, fuck it, all the fucks went out the fucking airlock, and they just had such a good time with it. And it is, like you said, David Cronenberg is in the beginning of it and he died. It's a ridiculous, it's a bad movie, but it is so fun. It's a really fun movie. But
it's the definition of a good bad movie.
Yeah, absolutely, it absolutely is. It is just that right amount of good bad that I can get behind. Me myself, I don't want to see a reboot. Much like Triv said, I don't want a straight reboot. I would be okay. The Legacy sequel thing is kind of that's getting kind of played out. I'd be down for it if they kind of just picked up where either Jason X or Freddy vs. Jason left off or something. But I wouldn't mind seeing a 2009 sequel, the 2009 reboot, because I thought that was a solid reboot. I enjoyed that movie. I know it has lovers and haters, but I thought that was a pretty good, especially compared to the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot that happened the next year in 2010. I thought the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th was Friday the 13th. It was very Friday the 13th. It gave us what we wanted. I liked that version of Jason. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to that because they're going to do something. So if you're going to do it, I'd rather see that one. But then next, I'd say maybe a Legacy sequel, depending on what they do. Another reboot. I just don't need another reboot. We've had so many iterations of Jason at this point. Just build off of something you already got.
Was that remake the one with the supernatural guy?
Yeah, Jared
Padalecki.
You guys like that movie?
I don't remember it.
I did. I knew what it was going into it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think it's some tour de force or anything, but I mean, it was for a Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, it did what it was supposed to do. It had a bunch of characters.
Produced by Michael Bay.
Michael Bay explosions.
Well, I liked the Jason in it. I thought he was pretty imposing, and it was a good time. I mean, it had some good kills in it. It had one of the biggest douchebags in the entire series that you wanted to die so bad, and it took him so long to die. That was one of the best parts of the movie. This douchebag, you wanted him to be the first motherfucker to get out, and he's like one of the last ones. And when he does, it's like, finally, yes. I mean, it's got some other things, and it tries to expand on the lore a bit, and I'm just like, whatever. But I mean, it does what it sets out to be, a straight up Friday the 13th movie, and I thought it did pretty good on that. But that's my take on it. But all right, so yeah, Friday the 13th fans, we talked about that longer than I expected, but if you're a fan of Friday the 13th and you've been looking forward to something new, you're getting it. It's coming, apparently, according to Cunningham, in 2023. But that seems like kind of soon, maybe the end of 2023, but we're getting something else Friday the 13th. Let us know in the comments below which way you guys want it to go. Because it's happening either way. Do you want a sequel to the 2009 reboot, legacy sequel, or just a fresh start altogether? We're getting something. Let us know.